It's circling.
Yay.
We are now live. Welcome everybody who's here. This is a debate between us four fine people. Myself, Crazybeard, HungryRye. We got David down here and Connor. Let's just start by going around the table. I'll say a little bit about me. We'll go to Hungry, and then we'll go to these two gentlemen. If you don't know me, I'm on TikTok, Crazybeard71. I'm usually karate chopping something or screaming about how things are messed up in our country. Go ahead, Hungry.
Oh, hi, I'm HungryRye on TikTok. I make political content. That's about it. I really only post on TikTok.
Cool.
Well,
David?
Yeah. I'm David. I'm Tsunami on YouTube. The K is silent. I like to post political things on my Snapchat, although my YouTube is like a very vanilla ripoff of Mr. Beast and a Tazi at the same time. Connor?
Well, my name is Connor Griffith. I have a gaming channel, Griffin Games, and my TikTok is nothing, just me making TikToks with my girlfriend. Nothing too special. Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. Sounds like we got the introductions out of the way. We're going to try to shoot for about 45 minutes to an hour, after which we'll do a brief Q&A. So if you have any questions, definitely hold them till the end, and we'll take some good questions. With that said, I guess we'll start with opening statements. HungryRye and I both went ahead and made our own. So we'll start with those, and then we'll give you a chance to do your opening statements. So with that said, I will kick us off. I was going to kick us off. I do apologize. I had this written down. There it is. Okay. So we believe that prostitution should be legalized due to the fact that it could greatly benefit the safety of women in general. By legalizing prostitution, you make their work safer for themselves, their clients, and women in general, giving those who need a healthy and consensual outlet vent their various needs. This keeps women safer, reduces sexual violence in a society. Legalizing prostitution gives women a chance to empower themselves and use that very trope to benefit themselves. Because this is a victimless crime, it benefits everyone from sex workers to their clients, to society in general. To legalize and regulate it, we intend to show tonight that legal prostitution is a net positive for those reasons. Go ahead, Hungry.
All right. And I believe that the legalization of prostitution is necessary in order to ensure the protection and safety for the women and men that work in the adult industry. We believe that, again, that this is a victimless crime, so there's no reason for it to be regulated in the sense of that we can't have institutions where people can practice this business in a safe manner. We really believe that the benefits from legalizing it outweigh the negatives. And we also fall into the category where we believe that a person has a right to bodily autonomy and integrity, and they should be able to utilize their body in the ways that they deem fit without government intervention.
All right. I think I'll proceed with my remarks here. Making prostitution legal, although on the surface may seem like it gives women more choices, actually just legitimizes something that not a lot of women have a choice of going into. A lot of women who go into prostitution are out of a desperation, socioeconomic factors, which are inconducive to future opportunities other than ones that are more toned for success. The HIV rate, although lower in countries where prostitution is completely legal, it is only relative to their GDP, and these ratios still have their HIV rates high. Also, pimping may be turned into a legitimate business, and whether legal or not, unfair practices will follow, such as garnishing a lot of payment made to prostitutes, and the abuse of women will still continue regardless if this practice is legal or illegal.
Yeah, so basically he hit it on the nail for probably the both of us. Just even with pornography in general, there's been like undercover documentaries about the women being forced into doing some acts. If you know the popular porn star Mia Khalifa, she was actually forced to be put in a hijab in a scene and then have her ripped it off. She didn't want to do that at all, but in order to make her money, she would have to do that, it's obviously terrible what they had to do. And yeah, it's constant of women being trafficked, abused, telling the man to stop, and it's not stopping. That's just my stance about it. But I believe that, like you were saying, Hungry, and if it's institutionalized and safely monitored, I would say, I think it should be fine. I personally wouldn't have an issue with it. But yet again, the pimping would be almost legal unless there were more policies to stop that.
Okay. Well, I think we could probably start with that. We could start with kind of how it affects society. The Netherlands, they actually made it legal, right? They made what's called tipple zones, or I'm probably saying that wrong. But over 2 years, they found that sexual violence towards women in general went down by 30%. And that's, rape, that's sexual assault, that's all of it. And that's not just the sex workers, that's the women in general. So over 2 years, it dropped 30%. And I believe now it's down 40%. They've been doing this for, 20 years at this point? That comes from the Harvard Institute of Social Review, I believe. So yeah, I would say, honestly, you don't really have to worry about, if you make it legal, I don't think pimps are really what you're worrying about. What you're worrying about is the fact that you're making it legal. So people are going to do it safer, and there's going to be an outlet so that less violence happens to women in general.
Yeah, I think another point we should elaborate is we do want some sorts of regulations. We don't want curb crawling, pimping, in essence, is very bad business practice. So like in the 11 counties in Nevada that have it legalized, they have a lot of regulations. You have to be 21 years old. They do weekly pap smears. They have monthly blood tests. Again, street and escorts are prohibited. They also have to apply for individual contracting permits so that they are legally, they get their taxes and whatnot taken off. They also have safety devices in the rooms, like alarm buttons. They have listening devices, and they have management surveillance services to help ensure the safety of the individuals working in the brothels.
Who pays for a lot of those listening machines? Where does that money come from?
I'm sure they have to pay out of their check, because they sign a contract with the establishment.
Probably like a security deposit or something.
Yeah, and they usually have a certain amount of time, whether it's a weekend or a week or whatever, to establish a sense of like clientele. So they work towards that. I don't know the specifics on how much it comes out. There's not much information on the pricing because it's so underground still. So it's hard to quantify that.
I imagine it wouldn't be burdensome, though. I imagine those kinds of things would be affordable, especially given the fact that you can probably make quite a bit of money doing this.
Yeah,
well, quite a bit of money is a bit of an overstatement. The average pay of a prostitute is approximately a little over an Uber or DoorDash driver, about over $2,000. It's the average. The top 10th percentile of prostitutes earn about $50,000 a year, but that's a very high-end market who sees international clientele and luxury hotels in New York City. But the average prostitute they only make a little more than an Uber or DoorDash driver. And going back to what you said about how abuse stats are down in the Netherlands because it's legal, yes, but they still exist. This is an industry that is conducive toward the abuse and general degradation of welfare for women, and not just women, but sex workers of all genders. 42% of prostitutes, a survey conducted by Valeria Sawyer and Dr. Schiraldi, 42% of prostitutes in Washington, D.C. surveyed had post-traumatic stress disorder. And out of 346 women, 176 women admitted they had traded sex for both money and drugs. So and a lot of women who go into prostitution is to support addiction. And that's a problem. And they actually will trade sex for drugs. And you can't have a bureaucrat, or you just can't have somebody, a third party, sitting in the room watching the sex occur and then watching the transaction occur. You know, it's
The thing with that is, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but the thing with that is, though, a lot of those things are caused by the pimps themselves. The fact that the underground is so bad, it's because of those men exploiting those women. If we legalize it, like what Nevada has done, we make those women their own contractors. We make them responsible for their own destiny. They can make more money. They don't have to worry about pimps beating them. They don't have to worry about trading sex for drugs. I mean, I think you're going to have a lot less of that stuff occurring if we make it legal, because then you're encouraging them to make a legitimate business out of it instead of hiding it from the government.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that, because if you know pimps, they're gonna tell you how long you're gonna stay outside, how many people, how much money you need to make. You don't make that, they'll beat you. They will hurt you bad. That is not okay. That's not good, obviously. But obviously, with being a sole proprietor or being your own business,
the problem with that is, it's like, okay, you're your own boss, but the foundation of sex is it's a rather private thing. So when it occurs between two people, who's to say the client won't beat you, or the client won't do anything bad to you? If you pay some prostitutes enough money, you don't need to wear a condom. It's rather bad. And again, who's to say pimping can't occur? I mean, you put in regulations and you put in all these things. Pimping will still occur. Just because drugs are illegal doesn't mean drug dealing still doesn't happen. Pimping will occur. These women need protection. They can't take care of themselves on an individual basis. You can check them for STDs and you can give them pap smears all you want, but you really can't. But they need protection. When you're in the bedroom just alone with another person, they can do a lot of bad things to you. And a lot of these people who do these prostitution services can be, are not healthy mentally. That's why they're doing prostitution and paying for sex in the first place. So
there is alarm buttons in the room. They have a button they can slap on like a side table. There's listening devices, so there are people monitoring the rooms to make sure that they are being treated safely. But if we go to like the psychology as to why men are obtaining and paying for these types of interactions, it can fall back on a variety of things, like whether it be kinks, they don't feel the ability to connect with other individuals. It goes a lot deeper. It can like kind of tie into the idea of toxic masculinity and their inability to convey their wants and needs with a partner and find partners that are able to meet those needs. So that's could be a reason that they are searching it out. It's not definitive, but.
And to jump off that point and to kind of back you up there, if prostitution is illegal and something bad does happen during the act, they can report it to law enforcement. They're more likely to report it because now it's not, oh, I'm going to go to jail for being a prostitute. It's, okay, this man did something against the law, and I'm a law-abiding citizen doing my business.
Well, I'm going to advocate here that the prostitutes, and to my overall take on this, prostitution for the prostitute, they should not be punished. And I think Sweden, selling sex is legal, but buying it is illegal. So the person who gets punished, the fault goes on to the buyer. So I don't want the prostitute getting punished in any way, because it's a lot. They go into this because they don't have a lot of options. They don't have their socioeconomic factors are not conducive for opportunities, and it's just not viable, and it's very degrading. And even though it's legal, and even though you have a panic button, some women are forced to see up to 14 clients a night, and that's emotionally taxing. Experiencing 14 different men, and then it's just not good for the men.
I was about to say, also, it is very, like David said, mentally draining and demoralizing. You know what I mean? Like, eventually what you're going to think, I have to do this in order to pay my bills. I have to do this in order to put food on the table for my kids. Yes. Like, and who's to say, like, in their neighborhood, they get somebody that they know, and they're like, yeah, she works the corner all the time. You know what I mean? Like, you can't progress from being, what was your previous employment? Yeah, I worked to the street corner. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a good background to have.
Well, that's a societal issue, though, right? We have such stigma over sex and sex work. If we legalize that, that's the first step to undoing that.
Right.
If a woman chooses to sell her body, that's her choice. And I can guarantee you some of these prostitutes, maybe not all of them, but some of them probably feel it's empowering, because at that point, what you're doing is you're taking how society has objectified women and made them sex objects. You're turning it around and saying, okay, you think I'm a sex object? You're going to pay me for it now. It's empowering.
Well, I would say if they think you're a sex object and you don't want to be that way, I don't think selling yourself.
It doesn't go hand in hand with personal integrity. So I don't think it's empowering, because you're.
Well, they're capitalizing on a patriarchal society that has been created.
I understand, but usually when you call a woman a sex object, they don't usually like that, and the fact that you're giving them the platform to make that true, and they've protested this, that they're not, and then you give them the platform that they are, I feel like that's kind of backhanded.
Yeah, but I do think we need to recognize that, like, the idea that women are objects is not going away anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So to ensure the safety of these individuals, the best thing that we can do at minimum is to decriminalize the offense, to open up conversation for safety so they can be open enough to report the crimes and, like, do the things they need to do.
At the very bare minimum.
Very bare minimum.
Like I said, countries that have done this, Netherlands is a great example. They see overall decreases in violence towards women. It doesn't just affect the sex workers, it affects society in general. It even helps men out. There are men out there that aren't necessarily bad people. They just don't, like what Hungry was saying earlier, they don't have an outlet for their kinks, or they don't know how to ask their partners for what they want. And that boils over time, and they eventually do something irreprehensible. But if they had a legal, safe, consensual outlet, there'd be less of them doing that.
Right. I think my only issue about it wouldn't be so much of what the men might do as what the woman might feel. That's my only thing about it. Like,
here's the thing. You could, a lot of these, you could make a lot of these generalizations as you want. Women will feel empowered over this. That is a generalization. Women will have more opportunity. That's a generalization. The fact of the matter is, this industry still has many women being beaten, being used in pimp rings. And how can you ensure individual protection without external protection? That is why people sign up for pimp organizations, for protection. And this is still demoralizing. When you're and you can say that, oh, you don't have to see 14 women in one night. Remember that this is still a business. So when you're renting out a room for $130 a night, okay, and you're charging what, $30, $50 an hour, you have to see at least 5 clients to make ends meet for that night. And they do it in motels. They don't do it in their personal homes, because either A, they can't afford personal homes, or their kids and their family live in their homes. It's you have to see, and a bare minimum of like 5 clients, and it's taxing. And a lot of these women get PTSD. That's a fact. Whether the statistics go down, 30%, 40% abuse goes down, it's still prevalent. It's still there. It's still an issue. And even with STDs, it's a huge problem. 20% of male prostitutes in Germany have tested positive for HIV, 16.9% in Spain, 13.5% in Portugal, 9.1%. And this is a study conducted by the European Center for Disease and Disease Prevention and Control. So this isn't a partisan commission. This is an independent commission. And you could say, oh, it'd be fixed with legalization and regulation. That's just a blanket statement. It's still a huge problem. I mean,
well, that's the thing, though. It can be fixed by legalization, because you mentioned a lot of things there. So I apologize. I'm not going to hit all the points, but okay. Let's focus on one, right? Let's focus on the fact that women get PTSD. They're getting PTSD because right now they're being brutalized by pimps. They're having to hide from the cops. if they're able to come forward, if they're able to say, hey, police, this guy did X thing, they don't need a pimp anymore. They're a legal business person now, and they have those protections any other business does. Yes, there's probably still going to be people doing horrible things, but you know what? People rob banks. Robbing banks is illegal, right? We can't stop that, but we can punish that, and we can try to deter it for the future.
They don't rob banks that frequently. That's the thing. It's like banks have so much security. It's like comparing robbing banks to women being abused. It's like apples and oranges. I mean, it's then inherently a lot of sex these people have is rough sex, and
Right.
it's not healthy. And seeing 5 men a night,
Yeah, I'm
a profit, okay, and 365 days a year or whatever, maybe not 365 days a year, but a great, it's not good. And it's just because the abuse isn't physical, it can still be verbal. These men can say horrible things during sex. These men, I mean, sex is very versatile. Just putting blanket sex, it's like all kinds of acts can be performed.
right. And I would make the argument that it would be during the intercourse is the most, what's the word? Most traumatizing for the woman. I mean, yeah, obviously if it is a pimp, but not every prostitute is associated with a pimp. Like, in California, I'm sure most of them are, but some are not. But yeah, it would say during sex, it would be the most demoralizing, most traumatizing part, especially like David said, if it is a business, you rent out the motel room, you're going to need to, however much clients, however much you're charging, you're going to need to see like 5 people, and you don't know what they are. You don't know what they've had. You don't know what they've been. You don't know if they're, what do you say, mentally unstable, or you don't know if they're a murderer. You don't know. You don't know. Are you proposing, like, not proposing, but are you saying like with the males, you'll have to get tested as well, like STD tested, or you have to have you have to go through a third party and then meet up? That's what I'm wondering.
You're talking about like the regulations that are instilled in
Yeah, right.
brothels?
Right. Like, does a man have to go to a place, get tested, and then they're able to perform?
No, they have to wear protection though. That is mandated across the board. They have to wear protection.
Yeah, but there's incentive for them not to wear protection because you can pay more money to not wear protection.
No, it's like they wouldn't be able to have their service.
You're talking in Germany or the Netherlands?
No, we're talking about Nevada currently.
In Nevada.
Yes.
Okay.
But who enforces that? Who enforces that?
The law enforcement, police.
They come in.
It's their business practice, right?
So if a female calls the cops, or like the condom detector flicks on, or I don't know.
Well, I mean, the woman would say, "Hey, he didn't use a condom, right, Hungry?"
What?
And if she was enforcing that, they would probably terminate her for violating that. It's like an employee contract. Like that goes hand in hand with it to ensure that safety is being met. I mean, even when you go and you look at the pornography industry, like what is the difference between porn and between prostitution?
That actually is a fantastic question.
There's no, because porn actors actually have a labor union. Prostitutes don't.
And why can't we do that with prostitutes?
Because it's not legal.
Yeah, exactly. We want to make it legal so that we can do that.
They could form unions too.
But the actual business of prostitution is reprehensible. It's just not.
But that's a moral argument, though. The reason that it's illegal in America is because of Judeo-Christian values.
I can make it physical.
I can tell you that we shouldn't be forcing our morals on other people. Prostitution hurts literally no one. It's victimless.
Okay, it's not victimless because
if it's legalized, it is.
So let's define a victimless crime, right? It's a legal offense to which all participating parties are consenting. This includes gambling and drug use.
Drug users harm their own bodies. A lot of these women are...
They're consenting adults, though. They are consenting to the contract. If you want to put it in business terms.
Well, okay, so excluding the moral argument, let me get into the fiscal argument, if you will. So a lot of these so-called panic button installations. Where are you installing these panic buttons?
I'm assuming they're within arm's reach. They're in the room. They
So
have to
are
be
they-
close. It's probably that's as
It could
far as I've
probably
been
be
able to
on like
go.
a dresser, maybe like just by the bed. I would assume.
I know, but not where in the room, but is it in all hotel rooms across America?
No, it's a business.
Oh.
Like it's an actual business. Everything happens within the walls of that business. It's not a hotel. They're not going somewhere else. It's happening.
So it's a
In-
brothel.
Yes, it's a brothel.
Of owners.
Yeah, it's a specific building built for this purpose. So there would be listening devices and things like that.
So it's kind of like a strip mall where each woman has her own business set up in this brothel, and then you hit the panic button and whatnot. And then another problem with the panic button is how fast are the police coming? Because if the guy starts beating up on you or raping you or going way too far, and how long is it going to take for the police to come?
They have surveillance
still
and
occurring.
security.
Is there security? I was about to say,
There'd
Yeah,
be
that's what the
bouncers.
security maintenance is.
Yeah.
how fast would the security? Because if it takes more than 2 minutes, you could be dead. You know what I
Well,
mean?
if they have internal security, I assume it'd be right away.
Yeah, but lock the doors. It could be multiple men. I mean, it could be.
Why would it be? Why would they not have a skeleton key? I mean, if they're security and it's their business, they'd be able to get in. No
You
matter
can
what.
throw a chair under the doorknob and then no key will unlock it.
It's
Do
just,
that.
I mean, these
Yeah.
are a lot of hypotheticals. Like we could say that
Correct.
there's
Exactly.
literally
But
just
these
a bed in the
hypotheticals-
room,
I
no chairs, no
understand that.
nothing. You know, everything could
But
be
the-
bolted to the ground. There's no way to definitively say like all of these hypotheticals.
but
And
these-
again, once it's legal,
occur.
we have the ability to actually think this out and plan it in a way where it works. Nevada does this without almost any problem. You don't see Nevada in the news every day. Oh, there's another crime in Nevada. It's been legal for how many years? Do you know that, Hungry? Because I didn't look that up.
I do not have the established date.
It's been legal for a long time, at least since I was a kid.
But I mean, we can go back to the idea that pornography, the way it's set up, is essentially the same as prostitution. There's a very gray line where it comes down to is a third party paying both of the individuals,
Yeah, it's just
and it is filmed.
like I said
So, like,
earlier.
that's it. There's a camera.
Porn is still horrible for the female involved. Like even regardless, labor union, whatever, it's still demoralizing. Like if you know, I don't know if you know Logan Paul. He has the porn actress Riley Reid on her. He has a podcast. She you know what I mean? She can't go out in public. She said her family disowned her. She said she's been taken advantage of a couple times in videos, and they're online. And when she's crying, she's really crying, and it's not her decision to take it down or stop it because it's whoever's producing it or whoever's paying her. You don't get nothing or just keep doing it. Like it's still.
But that comes with the stigma behind sex workers. They're
Exactly.
viewed as
It
less
doesn't come
than.
with the stigma. It's like she's literally being abused on camera. That's not a stigma. That's rape.
Like, are you talking about like in like the videos that she is casting?
In the video, when the actors start going too hard on the actress,
Hundreds of videos. There's hundreds.
in a lot of these videos, and she starts crying. That's no longer about stigma. Nothing. She's just getting raped.
I know, but we need to build a better, safer community for them to be able to do that if they want to be able to
Yeah,
exercise
but you
that
can't
right.
change the nature of certain men. They're just rough during sex.
Oh yes, you can. You can change
Sure.
culture. Culture has changed throughout the eons.
These are literally hormones. Your what gland is it? The
Pubitary, whatever.
something like
I
that.
don't
You just don't stop. I mean, once they
Right.
start doing things like going so hard on the woman, she starts crying. It's crazy. And what, you can't just change the culture
Exactly.
to stop
You know,
this fucking sex.
in and also you could say in chimpanzee culture, like I'm not trying to compare us to chimpanzees, but there's no way like them if they'll get so jacked up with testosterone. If you saw this, what year was that, Dave, when she ripped that girl's face
I
off?
don't know.
Well, whatever year it was, the chimpanzee really was so filled with testosterone, so filled with horniness and anger. He ended up attacking, almost killing her owner. The monkey like ripped his face off. It's just like you can't really change how inherently like your hormones work. You can't like that's not a cultural issue. That's like a
in some women, again, in prostitution, they just don't have a choice. This is an industry.
But see, that's the thing, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but they don't have a choice because it's illegal right now. If we legalize it, we have control over it. We can start regulating it, and we can start saving people from going through this stuff. There can be regulations to address literally everything you've said. Oh, they can't do 14 people a night. Great, we can regulate that. Oh, men are being too rough. We can regulate that. We can punish that if that happens. If a girl says, hey, they actually hurt me, we can punish that and we can discourage it in the future. Regulation is not perfect. No, we're not going to stop terrible things from happening, but we're not stopping them from happening now, are we?
Right, but look, legal or not legal, this stuff still happens. These women, this is industry that legal or not legal. If you talk to sex workers in Germany, German sex workers were interviewed. They said they had to go into it because they had no other options. They don't want to have sex, legal or not. They still have to have sex. And sometimes they have no choice but to see 14 men a night because they didn't keep their client numbers up, and the rent is due, food is due, school dues are due. The kid needs a new backpack for school. You need a bicycle. Who knows? I mean, this is a very variable industry.
Or
yes, but we have that going on now, and if we regulate it, we can make it better. It's going to be bad as it is now. If we do nothing and just let it keep happening, we have no control over it. If we regulate it, we can start making changes.
It's also coming with the fact, do you think a woman would be a prostitute if she didn't, like David said, if you didn't have to?
Some, yes.
Well, you would
question,
prefer being a prostitute over doing something else?
So let me ask you this. You ever seen a runway model? You ever see, a swimsuit model? Pornography? Some women like using their sexuality because, as we said in the beginning... Some women. Right. Women. But that's the thing. We're regulating for everybody.
I highly doubt that most of the women on the streets walking around are out there because they want to. It's because they have to. It's they need...
And the problem with making this industry legal is that you're legitimizing it and you're making this seem like a viable outlet for women, and they will be encouraged to join, and then they will find out that this is a very tough and emotionally taxing industry, and it's very rough, okay? Instead of allocating effort to make this legal, why don't we try and set up education centers, opportunity centers to help underprivileged women, okay? Help them find other avenues than selling their bodies.
So let me ask you this. You both are on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
How many videos do you come across where a woman is using her sexuality in one way or another? There are people that enjoy doing it. And if they can make money to do it, I think that would be a viable career for some.
There's a big difference between having to see 7, 8, 9 people a night having sex and posting a bikini picture on Instagram.
There is a difference, yes. But if it's legal, the difference is a little bit less because you have some of those external factors toned down.
Well, yeah, and even then, you see on Instagram, you have these 13, 14-year-old kids in bikinis. Are they old enough to regulate or decide if that's what they want their career to be at 13 and 14? I'll just drop out of school. People like my ass. I'll be a prostitute.
I mean, that's the thing, though.
This is a deeper of an issue. If you look at it, it's the instant gratification of money. You get it instantaneously. This is why people do exotic dancing. You could make tons of money in an instant. We live in a society where we are not paid enough for the labor that we contribute. And I don't want to pull this into a matter of capitalism and socialism, but those economic factors could be fixed. But since we live in a system that's enforcing capitalistic traits that are oppressing people and perpetuating these poverty cycles, this is how people are doing it and getting out of it and trying to make a living. So we have to protect them in some way in what they're doing until we can fix the other systems that are in place.
Right.
Well, I just don't want this to become a legitimate business because it will be seen as an avenue for a woman to say, this is a career I can go into. But how long can you be in that industry? I mean, once your kids get older, I mean, imagine the prostitutes' kids that get made fun of at school. It's just emotionally.
Why would they get made fun of at school? What would be the reason for that?
You're
Would it be
Just
the
another
stigma
part of the body.
around sex work?
absolutely,
Exactly.
but that will.
Yes.
That, I can guarantee that will never.
Just because you make something legal doesn't mean you're going to.
We're trying to normalize
We're
it.
trying to normalize. Yeah.
Even then,
There's still-
things can be normal. Like it will never die. Oh, your mom's a prostitute.
Let me ask
You
you
know
this:
how-
have you guys heard of the old saying, "The oldest profession"? Prostitution's been happening since the beginning of time. You can look in the Bible and you can see references
Yeah,
to
because there's been
Um,
poverty and low opportunity since the beginning of civilization.
right, and that's what HungryRye was saying is that unfortunately, and not to bring us into a different debate, society's broken. Right, we're not getting paid enough to live, and there's some people out there who happen to have assets that are usually used against them, who can turn it on its head, and they can start making money from it. It's empowering, and it should be completely legal.
To address the argument that the stigma will, and sorry for cutting you off, but address the argument that the stigma would be eliminated. You can't eliminate stigma with legalization or regulation. Colorado, marijuana is completely legal, yeah, but there's still a stigma that somebody can be a pothead. There's gambling is legal in Macau, in Maryland now, New Jersey. There's still a stigma that you're a slot junkie, you know?
So let's talk about weed for just a moment. Have you not noticed in recent years most people are becoming pro legalization? The stigma is going away. It's going away very slowly, but I would argue that honestly, legalizing weed is that first step, and I think legalizing prostitution is the first step to normalizing and making prostitution okay.
Hungry? Do you got anything?
Hungry?
Well, I mean, we can start to get into the actual legislation. We have to recognize that the 14th Amendment gives each individual the right to privacy and the right to bodily autonomy. So, in that sense, it is unconstitutional for prostitution to not be legalized.
It's just overall the industry. It's just the most. I mean, it's just not conducive.
But is it constitutional for it not to be legal?
Just because something is constitutional doesn't mean that it should exist. I mean, it's constitutional that we.
So then why do we follow the law in the first place? Sorry to cut you off, but if we're not going to follow the law that's there, why do we even have other laws?
Because we'll be punished if we don't follow the law.
Exactly. So shouldn't we be legalizing prostitution because that's against the Constitution, our very fundamental law?
The problem is just with legalizing prostitution, it just goes back to it legitimizes the business. It makes it seem like a viable outlet for women.
Yeah, that's the point. Legitimize it, make it normal.
The industry is a black hole. The industry.
It doesn't have to be a black hole, though.
The industry isn't going away at any point, though. That's the thing. Pornhub in 2018 had 33.5 billion visits. That's just Pornhub. It's not even the biggest online site. It has like 1,000 visits a second. It's not going away. This idea that women are used as a means to an end.
Look, and
I don't think we're going to be able to like come to a compromise when it comes to that. But I think we have to understand that it's not going away. So what do we do from here forward?
Open opportunity centers, open education centers, increase opportunities in lower income areas. Now, prostitution, making it legal, is cutting off a branch. But when you open up opportunity zones, you allow opportunities, education opportunities in low income areas, you are hacking the tree at its roots. A lot of these women, again, like I said, socioeconomic factors, they have kids too early, they need to go into this. But, if you try and attack this like education centers, women education centers, I am a large advocate of women's health organizations that give contraceptives, sexual education, employment opportunities. If the government can incentivize private businesses to employ more low-income women, set up education centers so women can learn how to code, get practical skills, that would be beautiful. And the prostitution rate would go down overall instead of just making the abuse statistics and the rape statistics, instead of that decreasing with legalizing prostitution. You can decrease prostitution as a whole by opening women's health, women's opportunity. And when we think about prostitutes, we only think about women prostitutes, but men prostitutes,
yeah, and we agree. We want to implement those changes to help people get out of those cycles. However, the reality of the world is it's happening right now. 28,000 people got arrested last year for prostitution. It costs an average of $20,000 per inmate per year.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I wanted to add something to your Pornhub statistic. In 2012, there were an estimated 1.4 exabytes of porn on the internet. This is not going away. Men's tendency or people's tendency to want to have sex, it's not going away. It's how we procreate, right? If we just ignore it, if we don't do anything about it, it's not going to get any better. If we just say, okay, well, let's let women code. Great, I'm all for that. Yes, let's have women get into STEM. That's amazing. But we can't turn away from the women that actually want to do this. Because no matter what we do, there's going to be some women that want to do it. No, not everybody. But there's going to be some that want to.
Okay, well, my compromise here is that what like the Swedish or Scandinavian model, the act of selling sex is legal, so the prostitute does not get penalized. I think it's wrong that the prostitute gets penalized because it's like it's basically it's so unfair. But the person buying sex, they should be liable for that, and you know.
But they have seen negative effects with it. They have seen that the clients have a sense of entitlement because their risk is on the line. Instead, they also like want to push for reduced price. They're unwilling to pay. And they don't want to use protection during sex because, again, like since they're buying it, they're holding all of the risk. So it's not a perfect system. It's better than the system we have now by far, but it's still not. Huh?
Which is no system.
Yes, we need something. And minimally, again, decriminalizing it because it's not fiscally responsible to house these people for what they're doing and charging them money too.
I mean, I guess we can all agree there, right?
Right.
Yeah, decriminalization would be the very bare minimum.
There's
it's
like
unacceptable
3 states
people are going to jail for that.
5 years for doing that for after like multiple offenses, and some will even charge them upwards of like $10,000. Like it's just not.
I mean, I was trying to look up why it was illegalized in the first place, and it looks like to me it wouldn't.
It didn't start with human trafficking, like the Mann Act, or.
But I think it's not you having the right to sexual autonomy. Is that what you said, sexual or bodily?
Bodily autonomy or integrity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is different from selling that service. You know what I mean? Like
soliciting it, advertising.
Right. Selling, you're right. That is not being bodily. That is not having the right to bodily autonomy. That would be a separate issue on something that you should be able to sell or market or solicit, as you said.
So I know it's not the exact same thing, but what about, again, going back to porn? You're selling your body for that too. Granted, it's a little bit more limited because you've got specific, porn actors and whatnot. You don't have any random person doing it, but same thing, right? They're doing it too. So should we make porn illegal as well?
Well, my thing with porn is you have to go through so many men, so much, all of this just to
it's tough to break into. Porn production is very saturated. I watched a few documentaries on what it's like to be a rising porn star. It's not as easy as it looks. It seems like easy money. It's not. Again, like with prostitution, it's a client-based service and it's not that lucrative. So you're basically living paycheck to paycheck. Cash bundle to cash bundle, and you have to live, and you're forced to live in these these houses where it's a collective of women, a collective of porn stars paid by one single dude paying rent, the production company, and a lot of harassment occurs in these houses. A lot of these production facilities in Miami, Florida, a lot of production companies rent a big mansion or like a decently sized house, and the women live there because they can't afford even a studio apartment because Miami's expensive, Fort Lauderdale's expensive, Hialeah is even expensive and dangerous, But
I want to clarify, we do want regulations on stuff like that. We want to be able to have that ability to make laws and regulations so that it is safer because there are going to be people that are going to want to do it.
Right. So, I mean, all the problems that exist with the porn industry right now, we'd want to fix those as well. So, legalizing prostitution, yes, all for that, but we're also for fixing loopholes when it comes to porn production. And to your point, you mentioned the whole mansion thing. There's been people on Twitter recently that have been getting in trouble for recruiting young girls who make like OnlyFans and whatever, and they're basically grooming them, right? We would also want to make that illegal for both pornography and for prostitution, because that's just another way of being a pimp, really. And we wouldn't want any pimps.
Yeah. I
Well,
mean,
if we can, oh, sorry.
oh, sorry. Even if push comes to shove and I'm faced with a bill, or we're faced with a bill that says prostitution should be legal, I would make sure there's an amendment or a provision that says that in these brothel areas, there cannot be a pimp. There cannot be a person who owns these women as employees. These women all have to be self-employed. They cannot be under the guidance of a man, because that leads to oppression and all sorts of these bad problems. So if push really did come to shove, they need to be self-employed within these brothels with these with these panic buttons, and that response better be fast. But unfortunately, by the time you get to the button, the abuse has already occurred. You can be physically restrained from pushing the button. That's a problem. And then you say video surveillance of 20 different rooms. I mean, by then it's almost too late. Any ounce of physical violence is something somebody can't forget.
Right.
They live with that. I have friends who have been sexually abused. My ex-girlfriend.
I'm sorry to cut you off, but again, we're not doing anything to stop that right now. If we at least try, it's something, right? But we've been at this for about 45 minutes. Do we want to start our closing statements?
Yeah,
do you guys want to go first since we went with our start?
Should we do Q&A?
Yeah, when I could give or take the closing statements and answer some questions if that's okay.
Yeah, but I think from what it sounds like, a minimum of decriminalization seems to be the unanimous amongst everyone in the group, which I think is fantastic progress.
It wasn't.
Absolutely.
It wasn't.
Yeah. I completely agree with at least decriminalization on the woman's part. I don't think women should be punished. Period.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad we could come together on that. That's more than most debates end up doing, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
all right. So we want
I can
to do
scroll
Q&A
back to the
then,
beginning and
anybody got any questions?
All right,
questions.
Q&A time.
Let's see. Yeah, we gotta get this going again one other day if we want to do a business.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
you can
down
do it
for
with us. We have a bunch of members in the Hype House if you want to debate anything, if that's something you guys are interested in.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I would love to debate, the topic of business, the 1% billionaires, because I definitely have more than 2 cents on that topic.
And I know Crazybeard, I've seen some of your videos. I actually follow your Mac. I know what you feel on you believe the maximum wage and all that jazz, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What that is.
Okay, I want to highlight this comment because I totally agree with it.
Thank you, Kristen.
Seriously, Hungry, I'm just going to take this in and say thanks for being my debate partner here. You've been awesome.
Thank you. This is my first debate. I've done like one live stream, so it's very. I can't. It's all backwards.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
So, anybody got any questions about the prostitution? I mean,
any questions other than
the rich? Kind of a different.
Eat the rich.
Yeah, sorry, my thing lagged. I didn't mean to click on Eat the Rich.
Yeah, that's okay.
The rich is my.
Throw it up there. Throw some shade. Yeah, and we can always go back to the chat and set up different. You said billionaires, like ethics or
Okay, guys, if you're going to ask questions, please put a question mark at the end. That was our rule last night. Let's keep with that.
Oh yeah, there's another question.
Oh, here's one from our good buddy Tommy here. If y'all want to go and answer that.
For David and Connor, why was there a fundamental misunderstanding of legalized prostitution when you came into this debate? I defined fundamental misunderstanding. That's subjective to what you believe.
Maybe whether or not they meant decriminalization or
right in regulation.
Yeah, legalized versus criminalized.
I wouldn't say quite that, but
So I put this up specifically for me. Yes, Stalin is daddy. Next.
Stalin.
I hate Joseph Stalin. Horrible.
I don't think us are going to come to agreement on that.
Regulations. What do you mean by regulations?
Jeez.
It's just a state. That's a word.
Regulations.
All right. Well, I mean, it looks like we're not getting too many prostitution questions.
Does anybody have any questions? Y'all got like 2 more minutes for.
Oh, you guys can plug your socials again.
Okay.
Okay. I am Tsunami on YouTube. SEWKNAMI.
Yep. Griffin Games, obviously. Griff and symbol.
Oh, I didn't know we had Trump supporters in the chat.
Oh yeah.
Allegedly.
So actually, quick question then: Are you two not Trump supporters?
I am overall. I am not a Donald Trump supporter. I'm a classic conservative, and I have many criticisms of Donald Trump.
Interesting.
I think my heart just skipped a beat. There's conservatives that don't like Trump.
Yeah, did you not know about us? I mean, I don't know, Connor.
We see a lot of Nick videos and Lance, so
We see a lot of Nick videos. Yeah.
we are a very silent majority. I mean, minority or majority, who knows? We were silenced because this big brash billionaire came in and he was the loudest voice in the room and he bullied his way into the system. He said, "Drain the swamp," and he replaced it with a fucking nuke zone. Oh, sorry for cursing.
No, you're good.
Oh, you can cuss. I say fuck all the time.
I think our thing says sex work, so I don't think we're getting monetized. Not
Yeah,
like we have.
I'm a Trump supporter personally. Yeah.
He's a Trump supporter.
I do have
Oh, here's a question. It's not related to prostitution, but we'll put it up.
Here's the thing: when people ask, me if I like presidents, I don't. You're not supposed to like everything a person does. I do like aspects of Ronald Reagan. His toughness on the USSR led to the opening of massive region of the world, so rich in culture. Should I start knowing?
Well, Thomas, I'm not sure about that.
Go for it.
Yeah,
Tommy boy.
We would support you, Tommy.
Yes, you should.
Yeah, like David was saying, obviously I like some things, but obviously there's plenty of other things I do not like. But obviously with every president, there is things that you absolutely do not like. Like
it's just when favorite presidents boil down for me, it's are there more pros contrasted to cons? I am a classic Republican. However, I do like what Franklin Delano Roosevelt did and Lyndon B. Johnson did with expanding Medicare and a lot of social policies. I
think that's fair being open to.
Yeah,
that honestly makes me very excited for our next debate, guys.
Yes, I can't wait. That'd be great.
Do you guys want to? Hungry? Do you want to plug anything?
It's the same as what's on the screen. See me on TikTok.
And I'm fairly sure most of you know me. I'm probably the loudest motherfucker here. So,
and the most vibrant with that.
Crazy beard.
Diet, but I had some teeth problems, and I know it sounds stupid, but the hot water hurts my teeth. So
maybe you should do next time red, orange, yellow, blue, green.
Put that up. Join the Discord if you Discord.
Rainbow.
Oh yeah,
if you like political chats, we have a Discord and it's pretty fire.
Oh, here's a good question. What do you think of Reagan funding the Taliban? I don't support it. See, there's cons to every president. I don't support it. What do you want me to say? Oh, you got me. Ronald Reagan did something bad. Oh my God.
I hope you know we're gonna clip that. We're gonna say, we're gonna have you say, "Oh, you got me," and we're gonna put it on TikTok.
We'll get to go viral.
That's a Nick video specialty.
Oh yeah.
Like what do you want me to say? Barack Obama got the most money from Goldman Sachs and deported the most illegal immigrants and started the detention centers. I got you there.
All righty. Well, I think we'll draw this to a close. Thanks everybody for showing up. Definitely check out these two gentlemen. And just like we invited them, if you want to join our Discord, definitely do so. We love debate, don't we, Hungry?
Yes, if you want to debate, message us on TikTok. Our DMs are open.
Absolutely.
Sounds good, guys. Okay. Thanks for the conversation, guys. See you later.
Look for another debate between us four here soon.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.